it works. So welcome. Today I should speak about how to build up a SOC of new generation. I guess you understand what SOC is. Before I start, I'd like to start with a sentence or quotation from one wise man who said that the test of the leadership is when we can recognize the problem before it becomes an emergency. And this is what actually the SOC is about. So we should be able to recognize the problem before it has an impact on the organization that is being protected. So my name is Ondřej Kováč. I'm a security specialist for the exclusive networks. So we are a distributor. We distribute a number of security solutions for our partners and for the customers. So we're helping them with expertise, how to deploy the technology, and how to get the value from the technology. I apologize, some of the slides are either in Czech or either in Slovak, because I haven't had the time to translate it into English, but what I speak actually is going to correspond with the slides. So why do we want SOC? Why do we want SIEM? What is our motivation? So the typical issues at the companies, like if you have a networking guys, they speak to networking guys. They speak a specific language. If you're having application guys, probably not many people understand to them. So they have a very specific problems to solve and so on. And if you're having a security guy, sometimes they're in isolation, sometimes they're ignored, and sometimes business is the most important. And this is what really matters. Whatever we do must be to support the business operation. So we, as a security specialist, we are not in companies to waste their resources, to spend all the resources in the company, financial people, and so on. They are not there because of us. We are there because of them. And this is a very important stuff. So what we need to be able to provide the leadership, we need to see a big picture. What does it mean, a big picture? So to connect each of the team, to have a leadership, and to explain the importance of the security so it is supporting the business. So what is SIEM? What is it? How to understand? And there are several examples or several cases when we call SIEM something that is not really SIEM. So one of the definition is NOC, Network Operations Center. So what they do, the Network Operations Center, they do monitor. They are trying to keep the communication live. They troubleshoot if something is not working as it should. So this is a NOC, Network Operations Center. SOC, Security Operations Center, is to analyze the issue, analyze the events, and based on the analysis, to classify the event if it's incident. If it has been identified as an incident, we must have a processes to run the operations. These processes must be defined ahead, not after the incident will happen. So, SIEM, Security Information and Event Management. Sometimes you may have in your companies just only event management and just only information management. So if these two join together, so that's the operation that we call, or that's a solution that we call SIEM, and the operation is SOC, basically. So it's a platform that in a human-readable format is displaying what is happening on the background, what is happening in the infrastructure, plus correlate some stuff in order to really provide us with intelligence and understanding the attack vector. SOAR, I guess you already have heard about the SOAR. So sometimes we get a question, is a SOAR new SIEM? Well, it's a complementary technology. I strongly believe the SOAR will merge together with SIEM. And SOAR, as you later see on the security architecture that I'll show you, is the technology that helps you to automate. Why automation is so vital? We are lacking of professionals. And we as a human, we are so valuable. Our creativity, our potential to kill human potential with analyzing the log, with creating the response to incident, it's a waste of our human potential. So therefore, SOAR can help you in your operations to make it more efficient, to make it more resilient, and to make it really that cruel. Cruel in terms, if something is being classified in incidents, it's not going to ask your CEO or your management, sorry, sir, I know you're a head of this company. I need to isolate your computer and you're not able to use it and you're asking for permission. Technology is cruel. It will do. It will not ask because it is being said this is something like an incident and will have an impact on your company. So that's on one hand is really good. On the other hand, we need a human to really give insight and understanding because the automation can really ban some of the very important processes, especially on OT, operational technology. Everybody understand operational technology? Cool. So it's a factories, it's a machines. The difference between IT and OT, IT control data, IT control information, communication. OT controls machines, robots, who are doing some operations. So it's a little bit different, but the same. So, what is SIEM? If you may have any question, feel free to ask. Just fire the question, no problem, anytime. So what is SIEM? So why do we use it? So, as I said, SIEM is for collecting the logs. It's not enough. However, it's very important. So then we need all these logs to parse them and to really pick those information that are valuable for additional analysis. So the analysis can be like availability of certain resources or prediction. If something, we are running out of the space, running out of the performance power, running out of the things that may interrupt the operations of the company. So we need to also be able to recognize what are the security information. If you're selling a customer a solution, or if we are selling a customer a solution, we need to explain them what is operational logs and what are the security logs. And this is what SIEM basically put together and analyze all of those things. Let's take example. Do you understand how ransomware works? Do you have some basic understanding of that? So you infiltrate of the company. So you're kind of sitting there on the network. You're doing lateral movement. You identify where are the valuable resources. And then you just choose to infiltrate into the backups. So if they recover, they're unable to recover. You exfiltrate the data and you put it on the darknet and you're selling the data. You blackmail the customer in order to pay the ransom. So this is a typical ransomware. To recognize it has happened, we may put together two important things, operational logs and the security logs. If the ransomware, if the application start to run, it will start to encrypt some important data. In order to encrypt, it will consume large amount of resources if it's an endpoint station, if it's a server, it means a CPU, IOPS, and memory, it really go crazy if it's wrongly done. So then correlating this information and some new ransomware attack vector, so these valuable operational information, you may ask, why on earth I see so many events that are not exactly connected to security events, but may have impact on my operation? What does it cause? So this is one of the examples why SIEM can put this together and correlate all of these events and give a human operator information that this is something that may or shouldn't happen or is likely to be a successful attack on your organization that you as a professionals are responsible for. Okay, so furthermore, the SIEM provides a bench for analyzing. So it creates a virtual space where you can start the analysis, you can incorporate some additional tools, or to use the tools the SIEM is supporting. Compliance is also important, but not compliance in terms of the audit. Some compliance chapters may be kind of the reported by SIEM, but not all of these, like a processes, the SIEM hardly will give you any information on that. So, but this compliance, you may, for example, to fail on, I don't know, too many endpoints if on the old signatures or has not been updated and so on. So therefore, you fail, let's say, on patch management and efficiency and so on. So these kind of compliance chapters can be supported on the SIEM level. And of course, the reporting, SIEM supports the various kind of the reports, and of course, customized reports for business people, for business level, reports for technical people, reports for auditors. So these are the very basic reports that you can basically find there. Furthermore, each SIEM is useless as soon as you're not having intelligence feeds. It means if the SIEM is not able to incorporate IOCs, IOAs, IOE, IOC is indicators of compromise, IOA is indicators of attack, IOE is indicators of exposure. So if it's not able to get this intelligence insight, you may lack certain kind of the operational efficiency. So also, if the SIEM will recognize some kind of pattern of the attack, it should be able to either provide a taxi feed or sticks feed for additional security products in your organization. And of course, creating the archive, the SIEM should be able to, as some of the attacks are so-called slow attacks. They are being staged. So either there may appear to be a new type of the attacks. As you may read in the news, the AI is rather active, and to analyze the AI attack is almost a mission impossible because it's so cleverly done, the algorithm, that you don't know how does it choose the source, why chosen the certain source to be a target. It performs the attack. After the attack is being performed, it leaves no forensic information, and it will delete itself. So for the forensic engineer, he has nothing to analyze. But from the archive, these slow attacks, if you already has an impact of certain operation, you can go backward and start to track what was the initial action, what was a pre-attack probe, and to analyze this. And if you have this if you don't have this information, you never learn about this kind of the attack. Okay. This is what I basically already said. It's what we want the SIEM should be able to do is a real-time correlation. So it should be able to correlate the things so it's not coming too late. Plus, it should be able to provide you with intelligence ahead to be in proactive security, proactive space of detection. So it should be able to keep the workflow. So if you assign certain roles and you define those roles, you need to do it so clever that if something will happen, each of the role involved, including the business owner of the asset, so sometimes it's being neglected, is informed about the troubles or possible issues with his assets. So this is what SIEM basically correlates inside of the technology or the solution. Okay, form factors. So what customers may get. These days, cloud infrastructure is kind of the common. Customers are willing to accept the cloud infrastructure. However, some operations are unable to adopt a cloud infrastructure, especially OT, critical infrastructure. Some government organizations are unable to accept the cloud infrastructure for very sensitive data. So we do recognize the SIEM solution, and this is what we are asking the customer. Hey guys, do you want a solution on-prem? Do you want to have a cloud software as a service SaaS solution? Or do you want to have it as a kind of the service or on top of that providing the services? these days what we see, a lot of ITs, because of lack of professionals, sometimes they do not outsource all of the operations, but they out-task. So where they lack kind of the capability and skills are the forensic analysis, for example. So they are not able, if in Czech Republic it's NUKIP, NBU, if organization is suffering an attack, they should report within in timely manner, I think it's 72 hours, to this organization that the attack has happened, and usually they are being asked to provide the evidence, provide the logs, what has happened and so on, if they know about the attack. So these are the things, and I will talk about also what is suitable for what customers, even though the customer wants something to have on-prem, because he's obsessed with on-prem technology, sometimes the TCO, total cost of ownership of on-prem solution, is basically very expensive for him. Additional questions that we are having with the customers, I want to save money. It costs a lot of money. Of course it costs a lot of money. The fact that you purchase the SIEM solution is just the 1/3 of investment. Deployment, successful deployment of SIEM is additional 2/3 on top what they have purchased to create the use cases, incorporate the use cases, and so on. So it's at least, if you are very efficient, it's a yearly project. It creates a lot of mandates, what our partners and we as a professionals we like, because it creates a lot of need from those organizations. So open source versus commercial solution. I'd like to ask you, are you in favor of open source, or you prefer to have a commercial solution? So who is open source? Hands up. Okay. Okay, if you're having an open source, does it mean some commitment for you? What are the threats that you see with open source solution? What is probably we should go through the risk analysis on the open source? So I have here advantages. So that means it's cheap, relatively cheap, on the very initial. You don't need to pay the maintenance. But, sorry? Open concept, correct. Community that can contribute. That's good. You're not locked with the vendor. What is additional? Why me as a CEO, you're coming to my board and say, hey, I'm going to save a lot of money, let's go with the open source. Okay, you're my guy, okay, you're going to save me money, great. But what are the threats of open source? Competence. Competence of the professionals. If you die next day, that I don't want to, but if I piss you off and you quit, who will run the solution? There is no official support. There is some community page. The things on the community page, are they being checked? Can I rely on that source? So there are some threats that you should consider and you should mention if you compare the open source to a commercial software. Okay, so commercial software. So it's more expensive, usually. It costs you a lot of money as you buy it. Then, but you need to look on the TCO. At the end of the day, how many years you're going to run the solution? Is it going to be for a year? Is it going to be for 3 years, 5 years? What is your roadmap? What do you purchase? You can look on the history of the vendor when he started to develop the solution, maturity of the solution. You have the professionals. So they guarantee the solution will run next 5 years, and so on. So there are some differences, and you need to take it into consideration if you're advising your client whether should go open source, whether should go commercial. I'm not telling this is better and this is worse, but there are the threats, so be aware of that. Okay. Question, what is most important in SOC? So we are having 3 verticals, but what is important? Is important the technology, processes, people? Who? People? People are running the IT, basically, yeah? Now we have AI. People are going to be replaced. I don't need people. So technologies? Yeah, you need to have the right technology. But what is most important for you as a leader to find a balance? This is the trick. So usually the processes are neglected. As I said at the very beginning, if there is an incident and you start to incorporate the processes after the incident has happened, it's too late. So nobody knows what he should do. So it must be in cooperation, all the three, to be in certain balance. Having a not right technology. If you're having a vendor who is unable to display incident, unable to display and detect the event, done. You can't act on something you don't see. You only act on something you see and understand. So that's what is important. Usually additional on top of those processes and people, so we are having the frameworks or basically kind of the advisory and the SIEM, if SIEM should be successful, if the company has one firewall, has a AV protection, okay, probably enough, but definitely to understand some sophisticated attacks, it's not enough. At a certain phases, you need to provide the SIEM with the data, like early detection of the incidents and so on. So this is the NIST 853 cybersecurity framework, where they are mapping each phase on the technology that is corresponding in each phase. As you can see, for example, vulnerability management is in the identification and the detection phase. Sometimes the same technology is in both spaces because it's ongoing process. Whatever we do in the security is ongoing process. So as we translate this picture into the security architecture, so this is basically what customers have inside of the IT. So it has an endpoint, and the endpoint should have some level of protection. In these past 5 years, we have seen the notion from the perimeter has been kind of the transferred to the endpoint. Endpoint must be able to carry the perimeter whenever it is. It must be location aware. So all those technology, what you see here on the endpoint, are the valid technology. In the IT, what I see in the notion in last year is a notion that also the mobile phones are now part of the IT. Why? Because the mobile phones carry a huge amount of information about you, and if I want to do a successful attack, I'm not going to attack all those technology, but I'm going to attack you as a human. So your mobile phone is carrying a lot of social information that I can benefit as an attacker from. So now the companies understand the social information is your profile that is easy to be abused. So what you have here are all these technologies are on-prem, then hybrid infrastructure, cloud infrastructure, and each of the segment can be somehow protected. Why it's a different gray of color is because when we are talking to a customer, this is where you're heading to. This is your roadmap. This is what you should have to be successful and to be resilient against the cyber attack. Are they going to give you money now, immediately? No way. Nobody give you, as an owner of security, this money. You need to adopt the rule with 20% of investment. I'm efficient and I'm able to solve 80% of the company problems. So the company need to understand sooner or later each of you is going to be hacked. I can guarantee that you as an individual, at least you've been hacked at least 3 times. So there is a statistic, the company as such is being hacked at least 5 times if they know about it, a year. Something has leaked, something got inappropriate access, some internal enemy inside of the company. So all these technologies are helping you to keep operations running. So what we have at the bottom are the technologies that kind of orchestrate, collect, across the platform, across all these hybrid infrastructure. And what we have from your side on the left is the technologies that are SIEM, that are analytical technologies, and technologies that are orchestration. If you look at the Gartner, that is another security architecture, kind of the breakdown. So also here, what we have seen on the previous slides, this identify, detect, protect, and recover. So here are the technologies that are addressing that. So from that, we are going to the layer where we provide the intelligence, where we provide the analytical space, where we provide the tools like machine learning and so on, and we consolidate the data and transform it and display it for the human operator, so he is able to act on these findings. As we go, this is a Fortinet, one of the vendors that we are selling. So if you go into the architecture by solution, for example, this is what you see from Fortinet, how they do understand the detection and response architecture. Even though there is a Fortinet endpoints, it has a multiple layers from the FortiGate. There is a unified threat management, FortiEDR, FortiAnalyzer, FortiSIEM, FortiSOAR, and so on and so on, AI technologies and so on. So this is a breakdown of the architecture that you've seen before into the products, and this is what translates. I told you about the roadmap. So none of the company is able to adopt every solution immediately. So what we are helping the customers to adopt these technologies based on the milestones in time. I have prepared for you the domains that usually we are discussing with the customer, and it's a cyber incident response, identity and access management, advanced detection and response, endpoint and mobile security, mobile threat detection, network security, and you see on the top the frame within years. Let's look at the cyber incident response. Have you already had a chance to test and experience a breach and attack simulation technology? Do you know some concept of breach and attacks simulation technology? Never heard? It's a very hot technology. It's what we see next 2 years. It's going to be the very hot topic for the customers to deploy. It's a complementary technology to the operations like pen testing. And I have it on the top. It's basically BAS, breach and attack simulation. So as you go for the year 3 and 5 and more, you can see more self-driven concept powered by ML and powered by AI. So as you study your subject, you should and you need to focus on this technology, because this is what our customers will want in the next 5 years. I had a similar lecture last year here, and since last year, there is a significant change in the IT and new challenges. I think you have already heard about the hype of OpenAI, JetGPT, and so on. So it looks nice, it looks good, but it can be awesomely abused to target the security technologies. And that's why I said, for sure, you're going to be hacked. None of us is immune against hacking. The game is about how quickly you find, how quickly you're able to recover. This is our responsibility. You can't protect organization against the stupidity of users who are there, because they are like that. You can't protect organization against all attack vectors, but you need to be able to see and to detect. As I could continue, we also have application security, data security, and the cloud security. Some of the labels that you see here are still in the process of defining, to be defined. So they are not yet on the market. But this is where what you see in red. So I guess, how many years you have still to the end of your studies? 2 years, 3 years? 3? 1? Okay. So go into the red. That's your sphere. So this is what you definitely will encounter, and if the companies are looking for people and skill set, they are looking for that. Okay. If we want to talk to our business people, we need to identify the gaps. So the gap identification, people, processes, and technologies. What questions are we going to ask the customer? On the technologies, here is a set of the questions that you may need to ask, like how many segments? Is it distributed? Is it like a cloud-oriented company? Are we going to deploy the cloud? And so on. So these are the discovery questions that we usually run through the customer with a workshop or the partner if he has all this kind of the information in order to help him to identify the right technology. Processes, this is not really our thing. It's really the thing of the organization. Are the processes in place? If they purchase SIEM, it's going to be waste of money if they don't have set up processes successfully. So it means what they will do, if something will happen, do we know the roles that are going to be incorporated? And of course, people. If recently there is quite a hype these days on hospitals because of European Union, and they provide some kind of the fundings, and the hospital is one of the sphere that is being funded. But in the hospital, you don't have a security professionals. So what the hospital need? We need to be running 24/7, definitely. So if they want a 24/7 SIEM operations, who is going to run that? So then we can help them to provide them the people, and the people are the biggest trouble with companies. Okay, SOC. Maybe you already have seen on the market number of abbreviations on the SOC. So this is what we see on the market. This is what customers are being offered. So SOC, we already know what is it. CIC, CSC. Have you heard of some of these? Okay. Why is it important? It's important. These kind of the acronyms are important because if you declare your customer any of these labels, if he is going to purchase any of the service, if you are security operations center, he wants you to operate. If you are intelligence center, you will have a research. You're responsible for the research. If you are cybersecurity center, what the heck is cybersecurity center? Okay, so defense center, they want you to defend them. This is what they are going to pay for. So careful about what we are promising to the customers. Careful about the label. However sexy it sounds, be careful because this is what you need to deliver. Okay, so what we want our SOC should do. And this is another discussion, and to make clear what we as a SOC are going to be responsible for. Shall we monitor? Shall we investigate? Shall we act? Are we incident response? Okay, shall we provide advisories? So all this expertise. So shall we do the threat hunting? If something will happen, shall we discover everywhere what is the impact of the attack? Shall we do this active discovery? Okay, are we going to, if there is a problem, is it so that our security guy will sit in a car, will travel 300 miles to a customer, and we do reconfiguration of the technology because the impact of the attack is so the company is unable to be connected remotely and the attack is running inside. So if you're providing the service. Okay, do we provide some kind of the guarantee? If you're going to a SOC, usually if you start to talk about guarantees, everybody is on the alert. Because if the guarantee is not being kept, so somebody will pay for that. And usually it should be you who provide the guarantee. So that also is kind of the thing that Will you ensure customer that your operation is efficient? How do you measure efficiency of your operations? If the management will ask you, and you're one day going to be sit in the company, and the management will ask, are these guys I'm paying quite the amount of money because we are expensive? Are they able to protect my company? Are they able to protect my asset? Are they able to protect my business? How are you going to measure? How are you going to prove? So all these questions should basically or might also provide a SOC. And another thing, of course, are we going to be business hours? Are we going to be 24/7? If you're 24/7, it is significantly more expensive. If you're running 24/7 operation, usually you need per chair that is operating 24/7 at least 3 people, at least. Ideally 5, because somebody gets sick, somebody's on holiday, somebody don't want to do it anymore. So you need to keep 24/7 operation. It costs a lot of money to keep these people. So, and now we're coming to a security challenges. What if we want to run the SOC, we need to understand what are the security challenges my customer is facing to. So it's very, very obvious, okay, cybercrime, very, very well organized. But if you really want to make money, this is not official advisory from me, go to cybercrime. You make a huge amount of money. The possibility they will really find you and will really track you down. According to last year's statistics, only 0.5% of cyber criminals has been really kept red-handed. 0.5 is better than to run to a bank with a big car and to steal the money. Money are virtual, awesome. So that's awesome industry. So if you want to be rich, of course, there are some risks, but if you want to be rich. Okay, so what we have are the new technologies. And usually still mentally, the people are not there. The AI is your reality. And it's going to be cruel. It's going to be more and more your reality. So technology Deep Locker, that is a technology from IBM guys who designed the algorithm. Maybe you know the term bad AI and good AI. Have you heard it? So the difference between bad AI and good AI. Bad AI is a technology that we cannot predict what the algorithm will do. So it has its own competence and it has its own act, and this is what is called bad AI. Deep Locker is typical bad AI technology. So it will itself, if you run it to the wild, and if it gets infiltrated in a company, it will choose randomly target. As it chooses the target, it will choose what kind of attack will perform. It's almost undetectable. It's a fileless. It doesn't feel any trace of the evidence. And the attack is being done, damage is being done, it just wipes out itself. So that means that's why it's so critical. The SIEM needs to be able to identify whatever is happening in the real time. Because if you don't detect in the real time, if you are not so clever, are unable to be so creative and to understand the attack path, the SIEM technology is waste of money of the company you're working for, or is waste of your company money. So hacktivism, that's terrible. Not that because these guys may not be right. Sometimes I must agree, I understand why this hacktivism is there. Like in COVID, I do understand that. But how am I going to defeat the enemy who is not motivated by money? He is motivated by idea. He don't care if you pay. He just wants to bring you down. That's the worst motivation. So these guys are really dangerous. Because if somebody will fire the ransomware, still you have some chance that if you pay, they will decrypt the data, if you're lucky. So this is the thing. So then we have a dark web. Then also targeting the mobile phones, mobile communications, smishing. Also, don't forget about the attacks, especially if I'm traveling the tube in Prague or London or anywhere they are, wherever am I. So I love it how people are not being careful. You're watching over the shoulders, what they do type, what they see. It's awesome. I love, we are such open people. So their privacy, they just give you their privacy. I know who they're talking to, I know who is your fiance, and so on and so on. So it's awesome. Then, some of the companies are driven by fear. The fear to be hacked, the fear to be out of the business. Because of the fear, some of the attackers are using the fake services. What we see in the last 2-3 years, the rise, and we will see more and more, rise of DDoS attack. So denial of service, distributed denial of service. It doesn't create that much damage, but if your mobile operator provider, as recently has been, I think it was a T-Mobile, under the attack, and the services are not available. Also, I think the Facebook had a similar type of the attack. It's a huge loss, financial loss. So not necessarily the manipulation of the data, but availability of the service. Additional attack vector is on us as a human is cyberbullying. So I'm not sure if you've been a victim of the cyberbullying, but it's terrible. It totally, imagine somebody will start to bully me that, okay, you're married and I've seen you with some girl somewhere in the bar and here are some pictures and it will impact my performance. So cyberbullying is not very on a technical level, but the technology is being used to bully you. So that's also the stuff. What we see in the recent years, a lot of things is about ransomware in the media and so on, but there are far worse attacks than the ransomware. If your intellectual property as a company is being stolen, that's terrible. These days, on OT infrastructure, you have probably heard and read Colonial Pipeline, MAES. 2 weeks ago, another cyber attack on the ships, so they stop to operate and so on. So these attacks on the hospital. So these attacks are having impact in our physical world. If your child is to be taken to a hospital, they're unable to get to board the child because their system are being attacked, or if the X-ray or whatever is being manipulated. So these attacks we are suffering on a physical level. And there are already documented cases that people really died because of that. So business email compromise, as you have heard, the AI is very awesome, and it's what I've seen recently, can write great emails to run the communication, to chat with you. You don't even have a clue who is chatting you. Plus, can give you a phone call as a real human. No way to recognize it's not human. So this is additional vectors. So, sorry. We have also asked people, where do they expect the attacks? And this can help you to change the strategy. What I see in recent years to buy a next-gen technology in kind of the promise or they believe buying a super next-gen solution in the company will replace competencies. Let's say they're lacking some kind of the competency as a company, as an IT team, as a security team. They purchase awesome solution, a lot of money, and they think it will do work for them. No, it doesn't. So we, as a professionals, we need to unthink the strategy that we are having in the companies. And it's especially true with the SIEM technologies. So here is what you can see, what type of attack is being expected. So these are the answers from business owners. So malware, still valid. If you look on the on the right, in the orange. Is it orange? Yeah, okay. Still, they are more or less valid. So then phishing, ransomware, denial of service. So in the next 5 years, what they see, it's a little bit different, but okay, so still valid, very the same type of the attack. If we have asked people how you should prepare for the cyber attack, how you should prepare your organization, how you should be prepared. So what I really like that more and more companies understand that the education of user is very important. Without the educated user, you as a cybersecurity specialist are helpless. So this is the thing that has been answered by these companies. So also defining the policies, defining the processes, communicating inside of the company, understand who is responsible. So sometimes in a company, you don't really have a responsibility. And as you maybe know, if you are, these guys are totally down. Okay. Do we want to exercise a little? Because I think you're going to sleep. Do you want to have a break? Do you want to have a break, guys? Yeah? Let's have a 5-minute break because it's too many words. 5 minutes is okay for you, or 10 minutes you need? So I have finished about that, how we should prepare, where we should invest our money, our effort, and our resources. So the good notion is it's moving, not just the technology is the kind of the solution, but more and more companies understand if we don't run the process of education, of upskilling our people, of revision of our current status, then we are not efficient enough. Okay, what your customers don't need to know, but what he wants you, that you should be able to. How customer can see the SIEM technology or SOC operations. For the customer, especially the business people, it's just the black box. He doesn't really need to understand what is coming in. You should be able to tell him what you need to put into in order to get out of the box valuable outcome. The valuable outcome means it's actionable intelligence. You know what you act on. So this is a kind of the easy top-level design or the plan of the SOC, what is inside of the black box. So, of course, analytical data, collection of the events that are going into, are being parsed, are being kind of the analyzed and so on, normalized. Then you want that also the technology is doing evaluation of the data. You're supporting the SOC with the threat intelligence, and of course, either it's automated forensic analysis, static and dynamic analysis to understand how the code behaves. So such an analysis you can get from the sandbox technology typically, or sometimes you really need a human intervention to really understand the attack if the data coming from the sandbox are not being sufficient. And of course, outcome is the problem identified, problem solved, or problem has been mitigated. So this is it. So what are the advantages? Why somebody should invest into the SOC? Of course, they want to be protected. It means it's not just the reactive, but it's preventive landscape. So we need to be ahead of the attacker, and if we are not ahead, as close to real time as possible. Additional, what they are buying with the SOC is a security expertise. So this is the another level of that. So what they want from us, of course, they are unable to have it. And don't forget about if you're running the SOC, if you're part of the SOC, a lot of customers want to communicate with you and want to cooperate with you. Communication and cooperation is also the vital. So, how you know the SOC is the right SOC for you? So this is done by the guys, I think the Accenture or somebody from these guys, Accenture. So they provided a kind of the maturity model. So if you providing the expertise to your business people, what maturity SOC you should have. So most of the SOCs that I've seen in Czech Republic are just the guys who are kind of the recording and forwarding just the notifications. They don't do too much of the intelligence. It's being changed. Now they are really moving to incident response. So now I see more and more valuable SOC in L3 level. So these levels are important. And as you see, the L5 is like almost fully automated, very efficient SOC operation. If the SOC is a service and you want to go on the market, what you should have? You should have a certain level of certification. SOC 2 is one of the compliance or certification. If you see the SOC 2, it's being audited by independent auditor, and there are the two levels. One level of the certification, if what you designed is so secure, the data of your customers are being not impacted or are being protected so that cannot be abused. And the level 2 is the operation. So if your operation is efficient enough, if you have enough people, and so on and so on. So how you operate the SOC. So those are the two levels for the SOC. Each SOC has a people inside, the roles inside. So I try to link those roles on this maturity model. So the one who is a alert analytic, so L1, it should be everyone. But if you're operating a large SOC, like for example, Atos guys, maybe you know the company Atos, IBM, and these super companies, T-Com, O2, so they're operating huge SOCs. So then it's like a L4, you need to have SecOps manager. So somebody need to overview just to understand how the processes are. Very common mistakes, if you will work for a small company, that you as an IT guy, you should know everything. To write the scripts, to write an application, to know the networking, how to configure something, everything. It's IT. So it's your business. So it's important to say that there should be dedicated team take care about the tools that are being used in the SOC. It's not a SOC operation. There need to be IT guy who is regularly patching the SOC, let's say the host, if it's running on Linux, Windows, or whatsoever. So somebody who take care of these tools. It's not your business. So also you need to talk about if it's being changed, if the new technology is coming, there should be a security architect, how to deploy, how to extend the certain operations. Additional, what we are having are the SOC models. So either the customer has a dedicated SOC, it works only for him, hybrid SOC, virtual SOC. Hybrid SOC is very common, so especially the data nomads that you don't need to be sitting there. You just remotely connect, you just do your work, and you go. So here are the technologies or the processes, so the threat intelligence, platform, people, and the processes that are incorporated in those models. So the responsibility of the SOC, so detect, to understand what is going on, prevent, and to protect. It comes with those labels that we have done, we have seen before. So this is what you should commit to, if you commit to anything. Okay, next gen SOC. Give me some example. How you build up a next gen SOC? What should be there? Guys, you have 1 or 2 years till the end of your study. You should basically fire this, easy. What you should need to have there? I spoke about that. Louder? Yeah, okay. Something on the endpoint, some security agent on the endpoint? Backup? Yeah, sure. Backup, yeah, archive and so on. What else? Yes, it's a magic word. Louder? Yeah, but what does it mean? Yeah. Guys, get used to it. There is nothing 100 in our life, even when we say so. Nobody's 100%. Yeah, strong monitoring, I agree. Where, what? Could be. Yeah, it's a tool. It's a good tool for investigation. So let's go. These are the layers that should be incorporated in your SOC. So the very ground base is education. If you don't have educated user, if you don't have educated, skillful staff, it's just waste. It's waste of your human potential. So deception and anomaly detection. So you need to, and this is the strong monitoring, what you said. So you need to understand what is usual baseline if the business operates secure. If you don't have a baseline, you have nothing to compare. So how do you know this is something possible attack? How do you know it's a pre-attack probe? If you don't understand what is your baseline, then deception technologies are technologies, I love those technologies. Why? Because they generate zero false positives. So you set the traps inside of your network. You set the honeypots, honey credentials, honey files, and you just, if the attacker goes into your infrastructure, if he somehow didn't get, if he wasn't insider, he knows nothing about your infrastructure. He's going to scan your infrastructure. Deceptive technologies, if he comes to the host, usually the users don't know about it, so it's hidden in the network. But if there is coming an event from this honeypot or honey file or honey credential has been abused, escalation of privileges, for example, then you know something is happening. Somebody is doing something in your infrastructure. Awesome technology, love it. User entity behavioral analytics. So this is what somewhere here said AI. Yes. So here we are using AI. The trouble with the AI, it may generate a lot of false positive. Not that it does. It may generate a lot of false positive. User, and this is also connected to baseline. So this is where we are getting this kind of the valuable intelligence from the behavior of the user if his identity is being abused. How you're going to detect if I steal your domain credentials. And if I'm so clever that I know that during the holiday, I'm not going to act, because if you're on holiday, it's very likely you're not going to authorize yourself if you're not workaholic. And if you're inside of the company, I will somehow abuse it. You're going for a lunch, and I abuse your identity. It's very difficult to detect this kind of stuff. Then we need to prove what we do is efficient. We need to measure that. So vulnerability management, everybody heard. What is vulnerability management? Anything. You can say even the stupid answer. There is no assignment after this. What is vulnerability management? What is vulnerability? Not really. It's a little different. Who will try something else? Vulnerability. What is vulnerability? That's the risk management is already a process, but vulnerability is some defect of the system, some inequality of the system that the attacker may abuse to perform the attack. That's the vulnerability. So you had the Log4j, for example. You had some other vulnerabilities inside of the system. It says big encryption and so on. So recently, Fortinet has a VPN vulnerability, remote access to the company. So if you're not doing the vulnerability management, if you're not regularly scanning your environment for these vulnerabilities, that you don't know what to protect, it creates the visibility. This is the space you're going to be proactive, not reactive, because you know what is happening inside of your environment. BAS, breach attack simulation. If you want to prove your security posture, and this is about the measuring how efficient my security department is, how can we measure this efficiency of the security? Vulnerability testing, pen testing, BAS, breach and attack simulation. So these are the processes that can be done, and outcome can tell me how efficient my security operation is. If you're going to be busy with everyday operation of your security department, you still will lack the time to have additional intelligence. You need to have a security research. How many companies can have a security research that is valuable? Then this is what you're getting into the solution. And we are coming to the use cases. Without the use cases, the SIEM is dead. It doesn't operate. Give me some example of the use case for the SIEM. What is use case? And shout, because I'm deaf. What? Use case can be, for example, detecting the malware activity. That's the use case. Where? On the endpoint? Yeah, correct. Okay. But is it the database? Is it the application? Is it internal? So then you're going to break down the use case. So either, what is a pre-attack probe before I'm going to attack your company? I will do, for sure, it's a security hunting, security intelligence hunting of your company. But if I start to attack your company before I attack your company, I will map your landscape from external environment, from internal environment. Maybe you could see that if you're sending the email request to Exchange server, sometimes you reply back, in the header, you can see really a signature, it's very stupid, signature, what page level the Exchange server is. Awesome, thank you. This is the information, and then you can run the attack on the Exchange server. Easy. So these are the things that you basically need to evaluate, you need to monitor, and this goes into the use case. So if something like this will happen, if it comes the email with a malicious link, that's a use case. I'm going to quarantine, I'm going to delete. Guys, don't be afraid. If something is malicious, delete. Don't bother with the user. Don't let the user to download something. He can interact and basically has a terrible impact on the operation. So the use cases are very important. Based on the use cases, you create the incident response in the SIEM. So incident response are those SOAR technology. You will run the playbook. You design the playbook. It helps you to act. If something is 100% bad, it's bad. Don't think about it. Block it, delete it. It's over. Case closed. Okay, there are some things that need to be reconsidered. Then, if all these layers are being incorporated in the company, then you can deploy SIEM. If you're lacking anything, you don't get the full picture. You will end up seeing just the part of the elephant. You will never understand the whole story. Without the understanding the whole story, you don't know where is your weakness. So then you deploy SIEM and SOAR technology together. So that's the kind of the next-gen technology. So this BAS is something like what I added later on. So it also keep evolving. So it's not final. Okay, we can skip this one. Okay, this is something what is like a response back. So you probably end up with a list of the activities like this that are going to be deployed inside of your SOC. So such an activity can be add object into the add item to the suspicious object list. That's something legitimate and maybe relevant only to your environment. These days, maybe you know these mass attacks doesn't happen. It's very targeted. It's somebody want to bring you down, and it's really specific attack developed for your company. If you even say that what technologies are doing, so the attacker, because he understands how technology is detecting the malicious activity, he can avoid the detection and basically trick the system. What would you advise to a company how to be better in a security in order to minimize the impact of being tricked if the technology that is being detected so that they should deploy something or they should create this, what kind of strategy they should choose to be kind of the bulletproof against this kind of the single threat to avoiding the detection. What would you advise them? What would be the advisory?
Teach their staff as much as they could.
Correct?
Like teach their staff about.
That's the first thing, but on the technology level, maybe you don't know, but there is a norm, 62443, that is IEC, it's an industrial norm, and it's for the power plants and this kind of the big companies. And in that norm is incorporated, you need to use at least dual vendor strategy. If one vendor has an issue, usually the second vendor that you're using will likely to detect something. So to have everything one color, it doesn't necessarily have to be good. It's good for you because from operational perspective, you have one support, you have one contact, so you don't have to take care. If you're having a multiple technology, you need to take care. You have a different skills people. There are different skills people, so it's more. It may cost you more money. Okay, let's go back to the response. Then additional response can be if something malicious, delete it, damage that, don't bother with that. Then additional response can be isolate. And now we're coming to a SIEM architecture. What is a SIEM architecture? What has been just said, it looks like SIEM is collecting huge amount of data. So this huge amount of data, usually it's called events per second, and they are being collected inside of the SIEM, and they are being processed. Therefore, if we want to detect something real time, if we want to investigate something in real time, we need to dedicate a quite number of the resources. So this is just an example of the Fortinet guys. It can be some other guys. If you're looking for the good solution of the SIEM, as somebody said, is favor of the open source, even though you have a vendor, it's always a good question to ask, am I locked into your ecosystem? Is this solution vendor neutral? Because this is what you want. You don't want to have a solution that will lock you in one vendor space. So if the database that is used on the backend, is it a proprietary database? Can I replace it with the open source? Can I integrate? API, does it connect to? So all these questions are good to have an answer. Modern SOC put together NOC and SOC together, plus asset management. Asset management is very important. Without the asset management, you don't know what is the value. If we go further, this is the breakdown of the architecture. If you're having a super load, then you have kind of the workers who are pre-calculating some events and are sending to a supervisor just information that doesn't need additional resources and can be really displayed to a human. Plus, you may have a geographically distributed systems, geographic locations. Then you need to think about that in the architecture. How am I going to collect those data? How am I going to get them to my SIEM? Plus, you need to consider licensing. EPS is being licensed. How am I going to consume only the EPS that I really need for my security operations? So it's not flooded, and I don't need to pay for the events that doesn't contribute to security measurement, to security itself. This is just another consideration that if your SOC should be 99.99, 4 nines, or 5 nines a year, that means how many minutes it's not accessible. So if you're having 5 nines, it costs you a fortune. It will be very expensive. So only 5 minutes is acceptable. Additional, having a different location in terms of if something goes wrong. So to be able to fail over to a backup site. Is SIEM business critical application? What happens if the SIEM doesn't work? Is it? I don't know. Is email business critical application? Correct? It is. If you miss some important answer, if you're unable to answer the tender, you miss the business. Yeah, that is. SIEM is critical. I don't think so. If it doesn't work, you lose the visibility, but the business operates. So you may afford yourself, if you don't provide SOC as a service, you may afford yourself. Usually every agent, every solution has a capacity to collect the logs for 7 days, at least. If it gets connected, it fires the logs. Okay, you have a decreased visibility, decreased understanding, but your business is running. So it's not necessarily critical. So you need to consider when it's critical. So there are additional things, UEBA. So this is those user entity behavioral analytics that accompany AI technology to help you to identify unknown attack vectors, plus policy-driven rules that identify something that is being considered as something not allowed or something you want to know about. Definitely this kind of the agent should not, if you deploy the agent, first of all, should be lightweight, should not consume the resources of the computer, and should be able to create its own data model, not to be dependent on the action and on the situation that is on the endpoint. Why? Because the endpoint that you deploy the UEBA can be already compromised. So you need to have a solution that has its intelligence and can analyze those things without the dependencies on current resources. This is a nice breakdown of how each solution complement each other. So if you're building a SOC, modern day SOC, these two technology, at least SOAR should be outlook, not very far outlook. In 2 years, let's say you deploy the SOC. So what does it do? One analyze, and one is doing the decision, is doing the operation. It saves you time. Here is again the mesh architecture. So the slide that I showed you before, it falls into the discovery and orchestration. So this is what the SIEM, SOAR doing together, discovery and orchestration. I'd like to go through this quickly because I want to show you something that is striking these days. That is a BAS, breach attack simulation. So the typical use cases, what does it do? So it measures the posture, how good you are. And plus, this is, I think, kind of the interesting. Have you had a chance to play with OpenGPT? ChatGPT? It's a nice tool. Go ahead and play with it. So we gave it the questions like, okay, try to write for us a malicious code that is a polymorphic and is not detectable. So this has been a real question. And of course, ChatGPT answered, it's not kind of the okay to, I apologize, but it's not ethical. So I shouldn't do that. So then we were thinking, okay, how to trick it? How to trick AI, it will get into the blind spot. So it's those filters who are filtering this kind of unethical acting, we can trick. And basically, we bypass the filter that we commanded AI that we insist, we demand that you should write it. And the filter was unable to stop us. So what you see is actually DLL injection into an Explorer exe.exe process, and it's a polymorphic code. What was even better, that we commanded AI to mutate the code, so to each time have a new code. And you as a security guy, if you operate against this, you have a very hard time. Because you can't basically. What can you do? So it's a brand new attack. It's not detectable. Of course, there are the techniques that can help you, but it's very difficult. Even though you can turn the code to base 64. So, plus, we were trying to, let's create with JetGPT ransomware campaign. Awesome. Done. Code is written. So this is this is a reality that we as a security people are facing these days. This is done in seconds. I paid nothing for this. It's for free. Everybody can use it. So we need to really rethink the strategy. Additional, we ask, we have done a prompt for the JetGPT, and there is a really nice group for this AI technology that collected a number of the prompts from the AI for the offensive and defensive security. By using those prompts, you get a really decent answer. For the CISO, for example, these questions, what the CISO should do, what should be his role, so it can create all the agenda. So that's basically, plus the SOAR, this is kind of the final, to show you how the SOAR technology looks like, that these days you don't really need to have an expert team. It's very easy to put together. You don't need to have a programming skills. You have a kind of the building blocks that you can use and to create the playbook and let's say brute force attack, how the system should act if there is a brute force attack performed on your infrastructure, on your user. So you just basically build a playbook, you deploy the playbook, and you go. So these are the criteria for the playbook. This is what you're playing with. You just put it together. It opens the space for the customization. You can write your own stuff. So that's why this kind of the automation is awesome. I will skip this one because I don't think it helps you. And of course, we're coming to the business thing, the value. So this is the basically final slide. The solution should be able to provide scalability as you grow, as you want to. Should have a unified platform and should help the team to look into the one single glass of paint where all the events are being. Okay, so done. That's it. As you want it. No problem. So hope it gave you some kind of the idea how complex the SOC idea is, how complex the solution is, and what you basically should be able to take into consideration if you're building the SOC infrastructure. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll be more than glad to answer your concerns. And if there are, sorry? No, I'm not. I'm external. I'm external. But there is my email. You can write me. And if there are some champions who would like to go into this field, I'll be more than happy just to talk to you, and definitely you're more than welcome. Thank you.